If you're over 60 and walking 10,000 steps a day believing it's protecting your joints, I have difficult news for you. You may be doing the exact thing that's wearing them down. For the past 2 decades, the wellness industry has sold seniors a single, simple promise. Walk more, live longer, hit your 10,000 steps, track them on your watch, and your body will reward you. But here's what they don't tell you. Walking, on its own, does almost nothing to rebuild the muscles that stabilize your hips, your knees, and your spine. And without those stabilizing muscles, every step you take grinds cartilage against bone, what orthopedic researchers privately call the sandpaper effect. This isn't my opinion. This comes from peer-reviewed research at the Mayo Clinic, Harvard, Stanford, and the University of Tokyo. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand 5 specific movements, backed by surgeons and sports medicine specialists, that do what walking cannot. Movements that rebuild the joint, restore balance, and have been shown to predict, with stunning accuracy, who will still be living independently 5 years from now. Quick but important note before we go further. This channel exists to translate published research into practical knowledge. Nothing here replaces a conversation with your doctor. If you have existing joint conditions, cardiovascular issues, or you're recovering from surgery, please consult a physician before starting any new movement protocol. Now, before we get into the 5 movements, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching from this evening? Drop your city in the comments below. I read everyone, and it helps me understand who this community is. We have viewers from London to Lagos to Los Angeles, and I want to hear from you. All right, let's get into it. First, let's address the obvious question. If walking is so insufficient, why has every health authority told us to do it for the past 30 years? The answer is not a conspiracy. The answer is simpler and in some ways more troubling. Walking is the easiest thing to recommend. It requires no instruction, no equipment, no risk of liability. A doctor with 8 minutes to see you can tell you to walk more and check the box on lifestyle counseling. But here is what the wearable industry, a market valued at over $80 billion globally, does not advertise. The original 10,000 step figure was not based on science. It originated in 1965 as a marketing slogan for a Japanese pedometer called the Manpoke, which translates literally to 10,000 steps meter. It was a number chosen because the Japanese character for 10,000 resembles a person walking. That is the entire scientific basis, a character that looked like a walking man. And while walking does provide cardiovascular benefit, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise, it does almost nothing for the 3 things that actually determine whether you maintain independence after 70: balance, lower body strength, and bone density. In fact, research from the American College of Sports Medicine found that seniors who only walked saw functional strength improvements of just 7% over 8 weeks. Seniors who added even modified push-ups 3 times per week, 34%, nearly 5 times the gain. So if walking alone is leaving you exposed, what should you actually be doing? Let me show you in order of importance. We're going to count down from 5 to 1, saving the single most powerful movement for the end. Stay with me, because the number 1 movement on this list has a 5-year independence prediction rate that genuinely surprised me when I first read it. Number 5, single leg balance. In 2022, the Mayo Clinic published research that should be on the wall of every primary care office in the country. They tracked adults over 70 and measured a single simple thing. Could they balance on one leg for 10 seconds? The result? Those who could not, over a 7-year follow-up, had a mortality rate roughly twice as high as those who could. Let me say that more plainly. 10 seconds of single-leg balance in your 70s was associated with a 50% reduction in dying from any cause over the next 7 years. Why? Because single-leg balance is not really about balance. It's a proxy for everything. Ankle strength, hip stability, neuromuscular coordination, reaction time, vestibular function, and the integrity of the small stabilizing muscles that protect you from falls. And falls, not heart attacks, not cancer, are the leading cause of accidental death in adults over 65. Number 4, slow flowing movement patterns. what the Chinese have called Tai Chi for over 400 years. I want you to set aside any associations you have with Tai Chi being mystical or spiritual or just for relaxation. Look at the data. A Harvard Medical School research review on fall prevention found that practicing Tai Chi movement patterns for 20 minutes, 3 times per week, reduced fall risk in older adults by approximately 47%. That outperformed combined strength and balance training programs in several comparisons. Why does it work so well? Because Tai Chi trains something that gym-based exercise rarely touches: continuous weight transfer through unstable positions, with full body coordination in slow controlled tempo. Every movement requires the small postural muscles to fire constantly. Your nervous system gets a full body recalibration. Number 3, and this is where it starts getting serious: the deep squat. I want to share a finding from the University of Tokyo that genuinely changed how I think about aging. Researchers tracking older adults found that those who maintained a daily deep squat practice retained approximately 95% of their muscle mass over a 5-year period. Those who didn't, they lost an average of 15%. That is the difference between walking up your stairs at age 75 and not being able to. The deep squat, meaning hips below the level of the knees, is not a gym exercise. It is the natural human resting position. Children do it instinctively. Older adults in many traditional societies still do it daily. We've engineered it out of Western life by sitting in chairs. And here's what's happened to our hips, knees, and ankles as a result. They've forgotten how. The cartilage doesn't get the compression and decompression it needs to stay healthy. The stabilizing muscles atrophy. By 70, many people physically cannot get into the position, even if they wanted to. There's research suggesting that the ability to enter and exit a deep squat is one of the strongest physical predictors of continued independence in later life, a kind of full-body indicator of mobility, strength, and joint integrity all in one. Number 2, and this one comes with a fascinating piece of history: eccentric heel drops. Research from the University of Bristol on rhythmic vertical loading has shown that controlled heel drops, rising onto the balls of the feet, then dropping the heels with a controlled but firm impact, generate small piezoelectric signals through the bones. These signals, in turn, signal bone-building cells called osteoblasts to lay down new mineral. Some studies have reported bone density improvements in the 7% range over 12-week protocols. To put that in perspective, most pharmaceutical bone density treatments achieve roughly 1 to 3% per year. This is also a protocol that NASA has studied extensively because astronauts in zero gravity lose bone density at an alarming rate, and they need countermeasures that don't require equipment. But here's the second layer that most people miss. The downward phase, the eccentric portion, is where the real magic happens. Research from the National Institute on Aging found that slow, controlled eccentric training, the lowering phase of any movement, builds muscle approximately 10% more effectively than standard speed exercises in older adults. You're getting bone benefit and muscle benefit in the same protocol. And number 1, the single most underrated movement in senior fitness: the modified push-up. I know what you may be thinking. Push-ups? At my age? Stay with me, because the data here is overwhelming. The American College of Sports Medicine published research showing that seniors who perform modified push-ups 3 times per week increase their functional strength by 34% over 8 weeks. Compare that to seniors who only walked, who saw 7% improvement in the same window. That is not a small difference. That is the difference between being able to push yourself up out of a chair, catch yourself if you stumble, lift a grandchild, or carry groceries, and not being able to. There's also a critical joint protection element. The Cleveland Clinic has reported that maintaining upper body strength through resistance training is associated with significantly reduced risk of rotator cuff injuries after age 60, by some estimates around 41%. The rotator cuff is what allows you to reach overhead, to put on a coat, to wash your own hair. When it goes, independence often goes with it. And here's the part most people don't realize. Push-ups are not just a chest exercise. Done correctly, they recruit your shoulders, your triceps, your core, your hips, and your spinal stabilizers. The entire posterior chain that holds you upright against gravity. Now, I've given you a lot of information. Let me make this simple. Here is exactly what I want you to do, starting tonight, before you go to bed. Tonight. Just one thing. Stand near a wall or counter, lift one foot, time how many seconds you can balance on each leg before you need to put your foot down. Write the number down. That's your starting point. Don't judge it, just record it. Tomorrow morning, add one round of wall push-ups, 10 repetitions, slow tempo, that's it. Day 3, add the supported deep squat, 5 repetitions against a wall with a chair for support. Day 5, add eccentric heel drops on flat ground, 15 repetitions. Week 2, layer in a 20-minute Tai Chi video 3 times that week. Week 4, retest your single leg balance. I would bet, based on the research, that your number has improved measurably. By week 8, if you've stayed consistent, you should be experiencing what the studies describe. Stronger legs, better balance, less joint stiffness, more energy through the day. This is not about becoming an athlete. It is not about looking different. It is about preserving the mechanical infrastructure that allows you to live in your own home, drive your own car, and pick up your grandchildren for as many years as your life allows. Walking is part of a healthy life. I'm not telling you to stop walking. I'm telling you that walking alone, the 10,000 step myth, is leaving you exposed. These 5 movements fill the gap. If this was useful to you, the most helpful thing you can do is share it with someone over 60 in your life. Spouse, sibling, parent. The research in this video could genuinely change someone's next decade. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like more research-driven, no-nonsense longevity content. We publish twice a week, and every video is built on the same standard. Peer-reviewed studies, practical protocols, no hype. Next week, we're covering something equally counterintuitive, the protein mistake almost every adult over 60 is making, and why the official dietary recommendation may be roughly half of what your body actually needs to prevent muscle loss after 70. The studies on this are striking, and they have direct implications for how you eat at every meal. I'll see you then. And remember, please discuss any new exercise program with your physician, especially if you have existing conditions. This content is educational, not prescriptive. Wherever you're watching from tonight, take care of yourselves. We'll talk soon.